I went ahead and created a new project here. As you can see, you can name whatever you want, as you should know by now. I named it Weather Forecast Final X Code 11. So the name doesn't really matter, but as long as you have a name, really. Very good. So I'm going to close this down here and to the right as well. In fact, I'm going to open the left one because we need that. Make this perhaps a little bit smaller. So what are we going to do here? Let's go ahead and run real quick because this is running from the previous project, right? Because this is a new project. We shouldn't have anything, hopefully. Everything should succeed. There is indeed a hello world there. That's very good. Now, the first thing we're going to do here is let's set up our project. So adding all of the resources that we need and so forth. That way we can get that out of the way. And then we can focus on building this application. So there are a few things we need. First of all, inside of our assets here, I'm going to add a folder of color. So I already have it open where you can quite see. I'm going to just copy or drag it all in there. And so this colors folder here, notice it's got a lot of these different colors, and you will have access to all of these, of course. So all of these colors here are predefined, so you can actually just use them as opposed to trying to create yourself. Of course, you can always create more colors, as I showed you in previous videos if you've been following us along. So now we have our colors. That's all good. The next thing I'm going to do is let's add a few folders here. That way we can organize our code. So the first one I'm going to call, let's call this helpers. Create a new one, views, data. We'll call this services, perhaps services. It's always better that way. And let's add in one more here. This is going to be view model. Okay, so we have our folders created there. I'm going to go back to our code here. So nothing really special here. Now, because we have already added these colors here, I want to show you real quick, just in case, how to use those colors that we've added in our project. So I can come down here and say foreground, and I can just say color, invoke that color folder, and then I'm going to pass here icons, for instance. Now, these icons, where does that come from? Well, this icons is part of one of the colors. You can see we have these icons there, right? So go back down here. It looks like we're having a little problem. Right, I have to say dot like this to invoke the modifier. There we go. So save and run. And we should see the difference here. You see there's a hello world and the gray color because we are using, in this case here, our icons from our color folder. Okay. Very good. So that's how you would use our colors. So next, we're going to add a view that will have our background color, meaning we want to add this very nice background gradient. So we're going to create a new view. So we're going to go inside of our views, got a new file. This is going to be a SwiftUI. I'm going to call this backsplash. Say enter. There we go. So it's just a SwiftUI file there. And inside here, I'm going to just go ahead and create a rectangle. And this rectangle here, I'm going to add a few modifiers there. I'm going to say fill, and I'm going to pass a linear gradient like this. Let's close this down to the right there. And the linear gradient will need to have a few things inside of it. So in this case, I'm going to pass an actual gradient object, which will require us to pass the colors. Say inside here, I'm going to pass a color object again from our files. And this one's going to be light pink. Let me finish this up there. And because we inside of our array here, I'm going to add another color. So it's a color. And this time it's going to be light blue as such. Okay. And then the starting point, I'm going to say dot top. And the endpoint is going to be at the bottom. So I'm just saying that I want something that goes from top to bottom, having that gradient. So essentially this. Now we need to call our linear gradient here somewhere. Where would that be? Well, let's go to our content view here. Now to make things better here, because I know in advance we're going to put things on top of each other. So we will need a Z stack, obviously. Let's get rid of all of this. Let's start a Z stack as such. And in this Z stack here, I'm going to go ahead and put a back splash as such. Just call it. Save this and run. We should hopefully see something at least. There we go. We have a very nice linear gradient here, but you notice we have our safe area problem there. Let's go back to our definition there. So what we're going to do next here is just go ahead inside of our rectangle, of course, or part of our rectangle, I should say. I'm going to say dot edges, ignore safe, .all. So we are going to ignore all of the safe area that we have in our phone there. So at this point here, we should be able to see everything. There we go. Very nice. So now we have our gradient looking really good. So we're ready to actually start working and putting user interface. But before we even start putting any user interface, what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and set up the data part of things first.